Good evening. Victoria has lost a key jewel of its major events crown, with the Phillip Island MotoGP on the move after almost 3 decades. The much-loved race has been snatched by South Australia after an 11th-hour bid to move it to Albert Park was rejected.
The checkered flag has waved on Phillip Island's MotoGP reign. Rumours turned to revelations late today, and as Victoria stalled, South Australia swooped as the new host.
It really pissed me off. Bug the government.
I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed after 29 years of what has been an extraordinary partnership.
Phillip Island has been the race's home since 1997. The year earlier, Victoria pinched the Formula One from Adelaide. Today's move, perhaps long-awaited revenge.
Victoria is clearly the major events capital, not just of this country, globally. So I wish the MotoGP all the best with its second choice.
Devastated, really. I mean, we invest so much in Phillip Island because the Grand Prix is coming every year.
Locals long tried to rev up the Allen government to keep the race on the island. It's their biggest weekend of the year.
The figures that came through last year were that we had almost 90,000 go through the turnstiles and then about 100 million in economic benefit for the region.
In 2027, it could be held at Tailem Bend, 85 k's southeast of Adelaide, with plans to eventually move it to the city with a street-style track.
What do you think to do street race? What, are you crazy or what?
Here at Phillip Island, it's more set up for the bikes.
A proposal to move the event to Albert Park was knocked back by the Victorian government. Instead, it had committed to provide funding to keep it here, but it wasn't enough.
We were never willing to sell out Phillip Island.
It's crazy, it should stay here.
Please, now too late. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Live now to Blake Johnson with the fallout, and Blake, revenge is a dish best served cold.
About as cold as a 2-day-old pie floater. Peter, South Australian delicacy. It's been 30 years since we pinched the Formula One Grand Prix from Adelaide. Now, tonight, it seems they have one back on us. Former Premier Jeff Kennett was in charge when Victoria did take the Formula One from South Australia. He says the MotoGP was worth fighting for.
It dints our reputation. We used to be the sporting capital of the world. It's devastating. Our government, again, has just been asleep at the wheel. They have no creativity. You don't lose these things, you work them out.
Jeff Kennett holding Wayne Gardner's helmet there as a prop. There'll be 2 groups of people tonight happy with this decision. South Australians, of course, and Albert Park residents who don't have to deal with a second noisy race on their doorstep. Peter?
Blake Johnson, thank you. A Melbourne primary school principal convicted of child sex offences will spend just 3 months behind bars after a sentence that left parents fuming. Border Force arrested the 50-year-old at the airport as he arrived home from the United States.
The final steps of freedom for a paedophile principal caught and sentenced on child abuse charges.
Disgusting. Karma.
After a trip to the US in January last year, 50-year-old Richard Barron was pulled up at the border. At the time, he was principal of Langwarrin Park Primary School. The AFP found child abuse material on his mobile phones. He'd been using the dating app Grindr to send and receive text-based child abuse material over a 13-month period. Then, in his downloads folder, police uncovered 2 videos and 2 images of children aged 10 to 13 being abused.
My children, they don't feel safe. He was meant to be one of their safe people at that school.
Barron's own lawyers admitted it was abhorrent and vile.
There's kids traumatised from even them knowing that he was watching them.
A teacher since 1998 and also a father. He'll serve a total of just 3 months behind bars.
I don't feel it's good enough.
The fear was that he was going to be let off scot-free.
Barron kept his eyes closed for much of the hearing, taking deep breaths, but it's unlikely he's overwhelmed by guilt. The assessing psychiatrist believes his sense of remorse and insight into his offending is only developing now.
School leadership knew about it, was reported to them.
The fact that he will be going to prison is hopefully a deterrent to any other predators out there.
Jacqueline Stanley, 7 News.
A grandparent of missing toddler Gus Lamont, who was arrested on firearms offences, is now accused of possessing an illegal gun silencer. Josie Murray was arrested on Monday after major crime police returned to the Outback homestead where the 4-year-old disappeared almost 5 months ago. Only 1 in 5 Victorians now regard Jacinta Allen as their preferred premier in a major blow to her re-election hopes. New polling shows voters are walking away from the two major parties as One Nation surges.
Bruised by the CFMEU scandal, Labor is lashing out at the man who called them out.
Well, there's a lot of florid ramblings from Mr Watson, but not a lot of evidence.
If Victorians cast their votes today, it would likely result in a hung parliament, the $15 billion big bill bombshell dealing a blow to the government's lustre.
It's accumulated scar tissue for the government.
At the last election, Labor's primary vote was 37% to the Coalition's 34%. Today, the Coalition would lead with just 30% to Labor's 28%. The reason for the shift, One Nation, is a big part of it. From a mere 22% in 2022, One Nation is now polling at 11%, almost level pegging with the Greens.
Voters want to empower One Nation to effectively tear the system down.
The state election on the line, Labor MPs are closing ranks.
I think Jacinta's doing a great job. Polls come up, polls go down.
Only 20% of voters prefer Jacinta Allen as Premier, her lowest rating yet. 39% rate Jess Wilson as their preferred Premier.
What the polls tell us is that Victorians are looking for change.
Oh, look, we always know we're in for a fight.
The first real test for the major parties is just 10 weeks away when Nepean voters head to the polls to replace Sam Groth, a by-election date set for May 2nd.
As for November's general election,
Preference strategies is going to be critical.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
A bushfire near Seymour is still burning out of control more than 24 hours after residents in the area were forced to seek shelter. 50 crews are battling the blaze, helped by easing conditions last night, which slowed the spread of the fire. It's now burnt through more than 180 hectares. Conditions are expected to intensify again on Friday, with high fire danger across most of the state. A brave survivor is speaking out tonight to help catch a man who raped her in St Kilda almost 4 decades ago. One of her attackers has already been jailed. Now police are desperate to hunt down his accomplice.
They are haunting pictures depicting pain and suffering created by the brave woman who endured and survived it.
This is the nightmare that every woman fears, and it was happening to me. I didn't know if the men were going to rape me or kill me, and I was terrified.
It was January 23, 1988. She was 19 on a night out in St Kilda when she was abducted by 2 men on Carlisle Street.
I was grabbed from behind with my mouth held shut and pushed into the back of a car. We drove for a bit, but they were holding me down. The car stopped, and I was raped by both of them.
Then pushed out to a car park at Elwood Beach. Her attacker's DNA was taken. For decades, the case went cold, but in 2021, a breakthrough.
A positive match on the DNA database of Travis Scott Riley.
Riley had been arrested for a driving matter in Queensland. Then, last year, he was jailed for almost a decade for the violent rape, but his accomplice is still at large. Detectives believe the key to uncovering this second attacker's identity is figuring out Travis Riley's friendship circle in 1988. They have spoken to him, but won't say how helpful he's really been.
We're appealing to anyone that knew him at the time to let us know, come contact us.
Just hope this helps to get the other offender, but glad at least one of them is paying for what he did to me.
Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
An accused drug driver in a stolen car smashed into the front of an antique shop in Tyabb early this morning. The 43-year-old Donnybrook man first hit the back of a Toyota Land Cruiser, sending the stolen Kia careering into the building. People in the area rushed to help the accused thief as the heritage-listed facade collapsed onto the car. Police allege the vehicle was taken during an aggravated burglary in Carrum Downs overnight. The Home Affairs Minister has told 7 News it's an obligation for Australia to issue passports to ISIS brides and their children trying to escape Syria. But one deemed too big a security threat is already banned from returning.
Welcoming Australia's 150 newest citizens at a ceremony in Sydney's Bankstown.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Telling 7 News why he won't welcome 34 other citizens, ISIS brides and their children.
It's an appalling decision that they made. It's created horrific consequences for their children. They should not have made that decision.
Their escape mission turned back by the Syrian military despite new passports issued by the Australian government. Not help, says the minister, but international law.
If anyone's an Australian citizen, then by law there's an obligation to issue them with a passport.
One bride has been slapped with a temporary exclusion order, banned from returning, considered too big a security risk. The others are free to return on their own if they can get out, but could face charges. As the minister faces claims a close supporter, refugee advocate Dr Jamal Rifi, is trying to help the ISIS brides return.
Why is Tony Burke's political fundraiser actually on the ground helping this cohort make their way to Australia? Something stinks.
Bridget McKenzie has a habit of making things up.
He says he hasn't spoken to Dr Rifi.
I don't know whether he's in Australia or whether he's overseas.
Between 2013 and 2017, 40 Australian ISIS fighters, wives and children returned independently. And in 2019, the Morrison government returned 7 ISIS orphans and a pregnant 16-year-old. In 2022, the Albanese government brought back 4 women and 13 children. And 7 News has learned 13 Australian-born ISIS fighters are among hundreds now being transferred out of Syrian prisons and across the border into Iraq, where they'll be held and interrogated in heavily fortified detention by US-led forces. The fighters are seen here being corralled in Syria before being moved in a covert US operation. This Iraqi government document recording among them the 13 Australian ISIS terrorists.
Those fighters were locked up and are still locked up.
And likely to remain locked up for a long time. Now, Tony Burke accuses the opposition of hypocrisy, pointing out that ISIS fighters return when they're in power, not just brides. But the Albanese government also funded that return mission in 2022 and now refuses to help at all. So what's changed? Tony Burke told me a policy decision to pull all support for returning ISIS brides was taken some time ago, before the last election. And he quickly pointed out a long time before the Bondi terrorist attack. Mitch.
Political editor Mark Riley, thank you. And a suspicious package has forced some of Australia's top defence figures to evacuate a Canberra conference.
Unfortunately, we just need you to depart and come over with your CPP team. And everyone else will just need to leave the area.
OK. I apologise, everyone.
It followed an earlier scare at the same venue where a rock was thrown into a window. The biggest hike to private health insurance premiums in almost a decade has many Australians seeing red. As Consumer Affairs editor Georgia Holland explains, the rise will hit households from April.
More than 15 million Australians pay for private health insurance and their bills are about to go up. The government approving a 4.41% increase to premiums. It means a family with an average priced gold hospital policy could pay $330 more annually. Those with silver cover face an increase of $166, while bronze policies are expected to rise by $120. Individuals will be stung between $59 and $120 $167 a year. But that's all based on the average increase of 4.41%. The four biggest health insurers are increasing premiums even further. NIB the highest at 5.47%.
These increases are the lowest possible increases that are consistent with a viable private hospital sector.
CanStar warns some gold hospital policies could rise by as much as 12%. To save, review your level of cover and extras. Consider switching providers or see if you can prepay for the year before the hike kicks in.
Reverend Jesse Jackson is being remembered as a titan of the civil rights movement after his death at the age of 84. Reverend Jackson once stood alongside Martin Luther King Jr. and paved the way for Barack Obama to become America's first black president.
A captivating speaker.
Keep hope alive! Keep hope alive!
The voice of the marginalised and the disenfranchised. Jesse Jackson, the young protege of Martin Luther King Jr., who was by his side when he was gunned down.
Police were coming from the direction of the shot. They had been lined up along the streets.
Jackson kept up King's fight, advocating for minorities' voting rights, job opportunities, education and health.
I may be poor, but I am somebody.
He launched two bids for president, his 1984 campaign, the first time a major party had an African-American contender. He didn't win the Democratic nomination, but came close in 1988.
My right and my privilege to stand here before you has been won in my lifetime by the blood and the sweat of the innocent.
2 decades later, America elected Barack Obama, its first black president. From the Obamas today, we stood on his shoulders. Reverend Jackson created opportunities for generations of African Americans. He laid the foundation for my own campaign to the highest office of the land. From the current US president, I knew him well. Long before becoming president, he was a good man with lots of personality, grit and street smarts. Jackson passed away peacefully after dedicating his life to keeping hope alive.
Our flag is red, white and blue, but our nation is rainbow. Red, yellow, brown, black and white. We're all precious in God's sight.
In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.